everything straight. Oh. Oh, my word. I dropped my phone. Jay, sit in my seat for a second.
Hey, friends.
Wait, I think it's upside down now. Is it
It is.
My goodness alive. Let's see if it'll just let me turn it. Oh, sorry. Y'all put up with the most craziness from me. Well, you look cute, Jay.
Hey, friends. What are you trying to do right now?
Well, I think I turned the neck on the tripod too wrong. Just close your eyes for a second, friends. Okay. Is that good?
Not at all. Look, you just loosen this, then bam, tighten that back down, and then move this. Now let go.
Okay, well, I'll sit down and let you come sit down. Whoa! You're way taller than me. Turn it down. A little bit more. Joya said you kill her. Okay, I think that's good. I'm a little lopsided. Oh, whoa, a little bit. Okay, that's good.
Bye, friends.
Oh my gosh, they just saw up your nose.
I did do that earlier.
Welcome back to Bible study, friends. I'm so sorry that y'all probably think we turned a cartwheel. I dropped my phone. I thought I had it in there, and I had to call Jay up. Did you bring my Bible? I thought he was coming up here to hand me my Bible. I hope y'all are having a great Wednesday, Turkey Eve, Thanksgiving Eve. Man, it's been a wild day. It's been a great day. My brother and my nephew are here, and if you know me or you've been around for a long time, you know that my nephew, Darren, my oldest nephew, is the first little love of my life, and my brother is my closest friend next to Jay. So we're just happy over here. I may or may not have let Zeta eat ice cream after dinner. So if you hear her acting wild, it's because I let her eat ice cream. But hey, Alexis, I'm glad that you're on. I'm trying to get all this figured out. You would think, here we are. We're in the 4th year of Unapologetic. We're in the 3rd year of Life Bible Study. But it just goes to the fact that this is authentic. This is the real deal. We are not a high-paid production crew by any stretch of the means. I do have it turned sideways so that I can use it for YouTube because I didn't get YouTube going. That is still something I'm figuring out for tonight, but I will upload this immediately to YouTube after we get off. So I hope that if you have the physical version of Bible study, you are enjoying it so far. One of the interesting things I am loving to see is the different states that this Bible study has gone to so far. And I'm going to have to ask Bridget to see just where this study is. But and this is wild to me, that I think the majority of the Bible study went to people that I have never spoke to in person, which sounds kind of funny because you're like, well, Kendall, yeah, you have a Bible study online. You may have never spoken to anybody in person. But so many people that have been involved and so supportive of my ministry for so long are people that I've known for a long time. And so to see so many new names and new people in and involved in Bible study from all over the country and all over the world, it's just wild. So thank you. And the way that we do have it formatted is each week you're going through an Old Testament story, looking at people who are maxed out, stressed out, run out, tired out, just straight out of options. You know what I mean? And so as you're doing that, on Wednesday nights, I'm going to bring to you a New Testament story of a time when Jesus showed up or experienced running out, tired out, all the outs, right? So you're getting something in here that is different than what you're getting tonight, but they each can live by themselves, which I think is cool too. So if you get the Bible study and you feel like you're behind, don't worry, you can do it in any order. There's no particular way to do it. I like to do it where it can stand on its own. You don't have to feel stressed out because you're behind. We're not about that life. So thank you all who have ordered. We do still have some left. And I hope you're enjoying the format of the workbook style of questions and digging deeper and reflecting into these stories and ideals, and hopefully looking at the characters in the stories in the Bible with a little bit more humanity and context, because sometimes we kind of pluck the stories out of the Bible and they look really good on felt charts, in preschool or for VBS themes, but they kind of lose their sense of reality and humanity and relativity to us over time as we get older. So I hope that it's hitting you in that way. So I will be referencing it tonight just for those who are doing it, or if you go back and watch, and I just say talk about the story we spoke about, but the in-depth version of the story and study is going to be here. We're not going to be reading from it tonight. So I'm going to put that to the side for just a second. Make sure that we are good to go here. Hey Juliana, so glad you're on, Fred. Thanks for being flexible with time. I'm going to ask Jay if he brought it up. And I think we're good. It feels good to be back in my setup up here. I'll be really honest, I haven't been in my office for a couple months. Like really been into it. And I spent a lot of time last night and yesterday straightening up, cleaning up, and getting rid of a lot of stuff. But when you're in a funk, and if you experience any kind of depression or anxiety, you get it, how a room or area can just become so chaotic or overwhelming that it's easier to just shut it out and let go of it for a minute and then come back to it when you're ready. And this week has felt like a lot of being able to come back to not just Bible study, but having Bridget back with working and sending orders back out. It all feels, everything feels like we're back in the groove. So Jay says he sat the Bible on the floor. And so I'm gonna reckon if it was a snake, it would bite me. Because astrophotography enough don't see it. So in true tradition of Thanksgiving, while I pick up this Bible off the floor, I would love for you to type one thing that you're thankful for, but do two. So do one thing that is very serious. It can be your family, for shelter, for stability in the season, and one thing that feels a little quirky. So maybe you're just really thankful for, in the midst of stressful season, the fact that peppermint mochas are back. So type those two things. And I'm gonna see, oh, there it is. Like he's telling me a story. And we're gonna get back to doing what I used to do with those who comment live. I'm going to send, since I'm back in the mode of shipping and getting things out, a prize to somebody. Just draw, we write somebody's name down for as many times as you comment, interact, and I'll draw one or two, depending on how much we got going on, and I will send you a little treat in the mail, a card and something from our little shop, just to say thank you for participating, thank you for adding value to Bible study. So I hope you will do that and drop it in the chat. So once again, something you're thankful for. It can be something real serious. And then another thing that's kind of silly, whether it's peppermint mochas. Maybe you love cold weather and you're glad that sweater weather is coming back, so you can start wearing your UN merch that's out and you're starting to get in the mail. I'd love to see those, and like I said, that's what I used to draw from. But tonight in week 2, we're going to be talking about enough, not having enough, running out. Whether you're running out of time, you're running out of resource, but what that feels like to not have enough. So before we get into the text and before we get into the study, as always, we will open up with a word of prayer. And if you have a prayer request, I would love for you to drop it below. And if you see one, all you have to do is like it or heart it, or, reply back to that person and just let them know that you're praying for you. Building community and being in community with other believers is about fellowship. And the way that we do that is stand together in prayer and in prophecy and all those things. So just be present in prayer and in peace of mind right now. So that's what we're going to do. I like to go back through it, and I will too pray for whatever is posted. But drop it in the chat, and that way those who are joining us live can do it as well. So I will open up with a word of prayer. Give us a moment to just center ourselves before we get into the word. Dear Lord, thank you so much that when you wrote the word and you became the word, that you didn't just leave it at some long list of laws and orders and expectations and commandments, but that you gave us illustrations and imageries and stories full of people that are just like me and my friends. Humble servants who are trying to do the best with what we have, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it's enough. Lord, we thank you for all the many blessings in our lives that even sometimes feel ridiculous or redundant. But Lord, especially this week, with Thanksgiving, we ask that you renew our hearts and minds with a grateful spirit so that we see through a lens of abundance and not through scarcity. For you are a God of more than enough. I ask that you touch the depths of our hearts and the corners of our minds that may feel empty or dark or far away from you. Lord, those things that feel heavy, those things that make us hurt, I ask that you hold them in the palm of your hand and pull us closely so we can feel your presence. Bless us and keep us. May your face shine upon us. Lord, be with us as we study your word. In your name pray. Amen. Well, friends, I am excited about tonight because I'm hoping that I'm not the only one that really struggles with this. As I mentioned to you in the lead up to this Bible study, in writing it, and in last week, how I feel like so much of this has come out of seasons where I've had to walk it, or I'm currently even going through it again, as we know these things cycle through. But tonight, this idea of enoughness is not something I feel like goes away and comes back every year or two. It's something that I feel like I can go through throughout the day. Whether it's when I check my pantry, or whether I check my bank account, or when I, look in the mirror, there's just something always that makes me feel like I lack, like I don't have what I need. And then there's other ways where it's less physical or materialistic things, or, kind of fleshly things, but it can be internal, where I don't feel good enough, or like I'm qualified enough, or like I need to have certain things done before God can use me. Like I just don't have enough yet. So if you have ever felt like you don't have enough, I want you to just drop the word in the chat that says not enough, or the words. You can raise your hand. Oh, Juliana raised her hand. Girl, you and I are sisters. So I know I'm not surprised, because we are so similar in so many ways, that you would be so adamant to raise your hand first. But I think as women, we feel this sense of needing to do more for our families, or do more with work, and then when they get convoluted, especially when work is at home and home is at work, especially during COVID, that enough is not enough time in the day, that enough can be enough presence time with your children, and then we're riddled with guilt and with shame that we haven't produced enough, that we've not loved enough, shared enough. spent time in the Word enough, and it can become a hard cycle for us to break. So tonight and this week, if you're following along in the study, this week's story follows a lady in the Old Testament, in 2 Kings, who doesn't have enough money. And she needs money because her children are in a terrible situation and she doesn't want to lose them. And it's because of her love for her children that she will finally ask for help. And man, do I relate to that, because more than I fear not having enough, I hate asking for help. But we see in her story that what she had is exactly what God would use to create more. But it was not just what she had, but the pairing of it with obedience and asking for help. And so tonight, we're going to look at a story. And really, when I was doing this text, I could have picked two stories because they both would have fit too well, where we look at a situation where there wasn't enough to go around. So I just want to ask you too, and you can drop it in the chat. Remember, for every time you answer a question or drop a comment, I'm going to put your name into a drawing, and I'm going to send somebody something special just for adding value to our community and commenting and interacting. So appreciate that so much. But guess a story or a time you can think of when Jesus helped out a situation where there wasn't enough. And while you're thinking about it, I want you to turn to John 2. And then you'll see, hopefully in your Bible, there'll be a title head that tells you what we're going to be reading about here. Well, the other story that we're not doing tonight, of course, was going to be Jesus feeding the 5,000. There was not enough food to go around. Not even almost enough. There was a couple loaves of bread, a half a dozen fish, and what they guessed would be close to 10,000 people. Because remember, they said there was 5,000 men. That's not counting women or children. So they were thinking it's actually probably closer to 8,000 to 10,000 was multiplied out of that one little boy's lunch. But that's not the story we're going to read tonight. The story we're actually going to read is just as much important in narrative as it is in the context. So in John 2, it's Jesus' very first miracle, when Jesus turns water into wine. So turn to John 2 if you have not already. I am reading tonight from my NIV Bible. On the third day, a wedding took place in Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no wine." "Woman, why did you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, and the kind used by Jews for ceremonial washings, each holding 20 to 30 gallons, aka these are like what they used to wash their feet when they came in from outside. So not like the water you'd want to drink, is all I'm saying. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet," to the head of the banquet. They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water. Can you imagine knowing you're getting foot water? Oh, gosh. But it had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from. Though the servants who had drawn the water knew, then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice of wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of his signs, through which he revealed all his glory, and his disciples believed him. So this is the first of 7 major miracles that Jesus performs. also known as one of the 7 signs. It was the first of the 7 signs. And so there's a few things that I want to break down in this text, because I think as people who feel like we're not ready yet, we're going to relate. And then 2, if you're a mom or you have a mom, you're going to relate to a statement here. And then 3, we're going to see what God uses and sends when he is asked for help. So the first thing I want to point out is the fact that Jesus says, "Woman, why did you involve me? My hour has not yet come." Woman. Now, first of all, we know Jesus and his mom have a strong relationship. I mean, it's his mama. But we've also seen Jesus, the last time we heard from Jesus, really, remember, was when he was lost at the tabernacles. He stood behind and his mama couldn't find him. And she's like, "Where are you at? You know, why weren't you listening?" Having one of those mama fits, as we all are probably familiar of. And then now he's around saying, "Woman, why have you summoned me? It is not yet my time to do my Father's work." You know, he's like, "I'm not ready. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing." But then he's been asked, and so too, Jesus doesn't sin, so he's going to obey his mother. And he moves forward. But one, let's just think about the fact that Jesus here was like, "Why have you asked?" He questioned whether or not the intentions of this was correct, because he wasn't ready yet. In his head, the time had not yet come. There hadn't been some drastic signal where God was like, "Now you should start your ministry." You know, there was none of that. There was not like a insert in the bulletin at the wedding that says, "And today Jesus will start being the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, through miracles, signs, and wonders that will bring people closer to him." There was none of that. And so when he was probably asking them, "Hey, can you go get these foot water bowls? And can you bring them over here? Yes, I know they're dirty. It's the end of the night. People have been walking in and out of the tent. It's gross. But yes, I need you to get some of that and just take it right on over to the head guy. Yes, I want him to drink. Yes, I want him to drink. Just go ahead and let him drink it." Can you imagine the conversations going around? Like, okay, like, Jesus is supposed to be the King of Kings and like he's going to save people. But I would think they thought that would look like him being like a really good preacher or a good pastor. You know, kind of like the priest at the time. But I have a hard time imagining that they were expecting Jesus to take foot water and turn it in to something used to party. Right? That doesn't make any sense. But we see here, Jesus questioned, and then we too got not just the timing of his calling, but we see that Jesus also had a questioning of his mother, and I don't want to say an attitude, but you don't say "woman" nicely. It was kind of like startled, like, "Oh my gosh, like, don't embarrass me, mama. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this yet." But he moves forward, acting in obedience. So they take this water, the foot water, which I just cannot get over. Ceremonial cleansing, washing of the feet. Like, I hate feet. It's gross to me. Well, it's just hard for me to process. Anybody else feel like that? I think I would have just left the wedding. I think I would have just left. I would just switch it up to like goat's milk or whatever else they drank. Surely somebody made like a basil lemonade or something. Or I would have just been fine. But no, they asked. They don't want to run out of wine, because at that point that would have been a disgrace on the family. You know, that they had not adequately prepared, that they didn't honor their guest well enough, that they were not equipped for such a celebration. Like, it would have just been dishonorable to do that. And so, you know, it of course is interesting, because some people want to argue that the wine that this is turned into is not wine that they get drunk off of, because people want to use it as an argument, or in defense is when people use this argument as why you can drink wine. They're like, well, the wine was different back then. I mean, it might have been different in the way that we ferment or do something differently, but it does mention, even in the text, verse here, 10, it said, the choice wine comes out first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink and have saved the best till now. They're like, we bring out the worst stuff later because it doesn't matter. They're not going to remember it. Anyway, you know, we want them to be able to taste the good stuff first. So, keep it in context. But people that try to convolute that into saying that it wasn't wine, like it was juice, it was not. Wine back then, wine, mead, alcohol, drinking has been a thing forever. And this was part of the context. You know, we don't see Jesus in here drinking. We don't hear about the disciples getting sloshed. So don't hear me say that. But this was real wine in the same way that we have wineries today. But I want you to know, in that same verse, in verse 10, they mentioned the contrast of the fact that Jesus could have just turned it into wine, or he could have just made it drinkable, turn that foot bath water, into just something drinkable, like edible, just make it okay. You know, so we're not completely dishonored, right? But what does he do? Not only does he provide wine, he provides the best wine. Wine so good that it should have come out before the wine they already went through, from the very beginning. And so they run out. They didn't have enough. So the big picture of this story is a lack scenario. And then we see not only the people asking, but then we see Jesus' mother asking for help. We also, Jesus asked for help from others in order to perform the miracle. And then we see the miracle goes above and beyond what was asked for, which is mimicked in pattern in the story you read from the Old Testament of Elijah and the unnamed woman. Now, why is this important? Why am I pointing out that there need to be people brought into these circumstances when there's not enough? Because as I read this story up again, and I was studying this week, the funny thing is, or ironic, serendipitous, whatever you want to call it, is we're exactly 1 year since Just and I were in the middle of sheer panic, and I don't know any other word. I laid out on the floor, crying, freaking out, not sure what we were going to do, because we had less than 2 weeks to raise, I think it was like $16,000, and I mean, just clueless as to what we were going to do. There was not enough. There was a clear and evident need. You know, just as there was a clear and evident need for the woman in 2 Kings, and there's a clear need here with the party running out of wine. And in that time of lack, you think there's no way, there's not enough time, you know, or there's not enough resource. Or I remember thinking last year, is in the middle of the holiday season, you know, people don't have extra money to donate, or why should they donate to us? You know, like, you go through all these lack thought process, right? Because having a lack mentality is a mindset. It's in many ways kind of a filter that your brain uses to justify your feelings for your current situation. And so when you have this lack mentality or a scarcity, because a lot of times it comes from the repetition of being let down, or there not being enough, or, you know, as a kid, maybe you opened up the refrigerator one too many times and there wasn't food, or maybe you've felt embarrassed one too many times at the grocery store and you swiped your card and, you know, it didn't go through because there wasn't enough money. Whatever it was, it can condition us to feeling lack or scarcity and fear of not enough. And in that fear and scarcity of not enough, what the devil will try to make us do, which leads into next week's topic, is to isolate ourselves and to feel like we have to figure it out for ourselves, and then not ask for help. But asking for help, and not only from God, but then when God tells you how to fix the situation or gives you the resource to do it, a lot of times He's going to need you to ask other people for help. Because when you bring in people, when you allow people to be a part of the miracle, to be a part of the blessing, to bless you, to help you, then they also get to be part of the witness and the testimony of how God shows up exceedingly abundantly. Because we saw this so evidently in our story last year when we had such a short amount of time, and even when we jumped on a plane and we had 3 hours to go before we were supposed to be at the hospital to meet our baby girl, and we had like $5,000 left to raise, and we couldn't even show up to the hospital without the money check, and it was a Sunday afternoon and our bank was closed and there was no way that we could get to it. And oh gosh, it was migraine inducing. I had one of the worst migraines I've ever had because I was so stressed. I was running high. The anticipation of becoming a mother in the next 72 hours was freaking me out as well. And then here I didn't have enough. I was worried about not having enough money. I was worried about not being enough to be a good mom, to not be ready enough, not be prepared enough. All these enoughness were, creating a storm in my brain. And I was struggling because I didn't want to ask for help. Not again. We had been pushing for 2 weeks. And I was like, I can't ask again. I cannot ask again. And I think sometimes it's that edge that God kind of nudges us off of. It says, do it again. The walls of Jericho, they had to march around 7 times. Like, God could have done it on lap 3. He could have made the walls fall on lap 2. But part of it was the obedience of keeping pushing forward and continuing to walk in obedience. And for us, sometimes it's continuing to trust Him and to ask and not just use the resource you have, whether it's foot water or broken jars or your neighbor's vessels, as the story this week. But when we do that, we open up our story. We open up the conversation and allow people in to the story and the narrative to be a part of the village that creates the environment for the miracle. And I don't know about you, but I so desperately want to be a person who creates an atmosphere that is expectant of miracles. A home, a household, a community for us here in the tribe, a group of friends, for there to be room for expectation that miracles can happen. And because we believe that and expect that people feel like they can come with their ask and that expectation, and God will already have moved in people's hearts and minds in ways that they can step up to the plate or help and be a part of that blessing. Because it wasn't any one person, that met the need for us. It wasn't any one person, but it was every little person doing what they could to help, that came together, that created the miracle for us. And that's what happened with the woman who needed jars that she had to borrow from her neighbor. It wasn't just one neighbor, it was many neighbors that came together that created the abundance and the resource for a miracle. So in thinking about this and thinking about asking for help, there's a context of that, and that's, who are you inviting into your circle? Do you have people around you that you can take your broken vessels to and ask to borrow theirs? Are you in an environment where there are people full of expectation and power and miracle and strength and faith, that in a wedding-like situation, you're like, yep, Jesus is here, it'll work out? I am so intentional, especially now as a mother, about the people that I allow into my life. And I know it sounds wild because I do live such a public life on social media, but there's so much that is not. And the people that know me the closest are such a select group of people. If Jesus, the Savior of our world, only needed 12, then you may not even need 5. The story of the man getting put into a platform and then put through the roof of the house so that he could be brought to Jesus. It was him and his 3 crazy friends. That's 4 people. You don't need a whole team. You don't need a starting lineup for football season. you need a few crazy, faithful friends. I hope you can find a few crazy friends here. I feel like I hope this is a crazy friend environment. Maybe that needs to be our next t-shirt or sweatshirt, but of saying that you're one of the crazy friends or something like that. But we have to be cognizant of who we're asking, because the repetition of getting told no by the wrong people conditions us to believe that it's a no from all people. If the people at the wedding had gone and asked any of the other disciples, they would have probably been like, well, sucks to suck. Too bad, so sad. Should have had your ish together. Or maybe they would have been like, yeah, I actually got a bunch of wineskins on the back of my camel. Let me run go get them. I'll bring them back. But then every time y'all go out to coffee for the next 6 months, you know, Peter's like, don't you remember that one time I had wine at your wedding when you ran out? You're going to get my coffee today. And so just because someone says yes, it doesn't mean it's a good yes. But also, just because someone keeps saying no doesn't mean it's a no from everyone and a no from the right people. I was told many years ago when I was in Mary Kay, and I was a very impressionable 18 or 19-year-old, and it has stuck with me. But my leader, Donna Maxwell, said, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. That includes family, that includes your friends, but it also includes, like, for us, she would tell us the information we're consuming, whether that was in books we were reading, you know, podcasts we were listening to, anything leadership. You know, the more the information and things we consume from it, the more we're going to become like it. And so, you know, the scripture, of course, is your friend. The Holy Spirit is your friend. But you've got to be cognizant of who's in that group, because you could be asking the wrong person the right question and the miracle not happen. And the enoughness cycle is going to continue to spin, and the devil will take that not enough and turn it into shame, into guilt that you have to carry for a very long time. But I hope that you break into a point like this mother in the story from 2 Kings, who was like, these are my babies. I will ask anybody. I will do anything. These are my children. And I think that's how Jesus feels about his flock of people. These are my people. If they don't have what they need, I just need them to ask. You've heard it before, you have not because you ask not. And that's not saying that about materialistic things, but it's saying that God is not answering some of the prayers that we think we're praying, but we've never really asked. They're just wishes kind of floating around in our mind, or they're jealous desires manifesting in our lives into feelings of lack because we see what they have and we don't. We contrast the two and feel a void. And so this enoughness is hard. It's hard when we don't have enough. It's hard when we are the people that need to ask for help. But on the flip side of it is, remember that you may also be the person that's able to deliver the miracle. Jesus even asked, it's not my time. Why are you asking me? He didn't feel like he was ready enough. He didn't feel like he had enough of a sign. Like, surely, Lord, you're going to ask me right now in the middle of the cha-cha slide? People are already, like, getting drunk. Why did they need me? This is when you want me to start the ministry? Right here, Lord? This is when you want me to start this call and this thing? Lord, the economy's bad. People don't have money right now. I'm already stressed. I don't have enough time. Our pastor one time said, and it stuck so good with me, that there's other people's blessings hanging on an act of your obedience. Someone's waiting for you to be obedient so that they can be blessed. And it could be blessed by being set free by a gift or a talent that you're able to use. It could be a word that you say. It could be an encouragement that you give. But your obedience and your discernment to act in that way and use what you have. Jesus didn't say, you know what, I need to run back to my to the house. Let me go get a few things. I'm going to go get the cross. I'm going to get some of the oil. We're going to work something and pray. I'll get the disciples around. We'll lay hands, and then we'll see what we can do. We'll see what we can do. But instead, Jesus was creative. He was resourceful. He was innovative. He took a little scan around the room. He's like, what do we got? Inventory, inventory, inventory. There, right there. That's a liquid. Not the liquid we're looking for, but I'll work with it. Let's make it happen. Same thing with the woman. She had broken vessels. Was it perfect? No. But Elijah showed her how it could be built upon by going to get from others. All you have is all you need. I know that feels simple, but sometimes it's profound, because sometimes we're waiting until we finish a degree, or we're waiting till a certain part of the year. Maybe you're waiting for January 1st to start something new. Maybe you're waiting for COVID to be over. Maybe you're waiting for whatever to launch your new business or idea. Maybe you're waiting to have a conversation with a friend until the stress of holidays are over. I don't know what it is. But I do know that through relationship with God and with discernment of the Holy Spirit, that Jesus so innately knows us, and God is so miraculously works things together in our lives, that if something comes to us and we're called to it in obedience, then we already have the resource to fulfill it within arm's reach. And maybe the first step to that resource is reaching out for a helping hand, or being the helping hand. But our enoughness, our feeling of lack, can ultimately be tied back to our pride, our ego, our fear of being told no, our pride in not wanting to look desperate or embarrassed. But it's just so important, I think, for us as Christians to know that we are not just stewards of possibility. We're not just stewards of the purpose that is to come. We are stewards of what we have right now. And the world is going to tell us, and the devil is going to shout at us, that what we have right now is not enough, and that we're not ready. We need to wait, or, the time's not right yet. But all you have is all you need. And if God has called you to it, then He will equip you to navigate every single aspect of it. And I know from experience, as we walked through adoption last year and through so many other situations just in this year when we, were so fearful with Zadie in the hospital and for prayer and having to ask for help. God has shown me in small ways and big ways that when I lay my pride down, when I let go of my ego and I say, Lord, okay, this is not what I wanted to do, but I understand that your glory is the goal, not my ego, not my pride, not my glory. And so having to humble myself to others, ask for help, allows them to be witness and part of the miracle. And that witness and testimony of the miracle, the seeing of God showing up in a miraculous way and being able to play a role in it, could be the very reason that they developed a relationship with Christ. And for me, that's enough. It has to be enough. That's what we're called to make disciples. And I think we're confusing making disciples right now with the need to correct people. But both discipleship and salvation come through relationship. And these are the relationships that are also the ones that you reach out to for help, for a jar, for a bowl of water, for that cup of sugar tomorrow, for some flour because the store's closed and you forgot you needed flour to make your gravy. You also know, Kendall, we still gotta go to their store because I still got things I need to get and it's probably gonna be closed tomorrow. When you have those people that you're helping in their faith journey around you, those that you're discipling, and those that are discipling you, those are the people you ask for help from. Because their faith will be ignited and reignited through being a part of the witness and testimony of the miracle of God showing up in your life. Those are the relationships that are gold. That is the iron that sharpens iron. These are not Hobby Lobby quotable, feel good Bible verses. This is not our faith being watered down to a platitude or a political policy. This is our faith coming to practice in relationship and then in evidence through a miracle, and then through that evidence we see salvation. And we know that salvation is the gift of hope and the source of abundance. I know you know the verse, Ephesians 3:20, that our God is a God of exceedingly more than we could have asked or imagined. Zadie Ann is a perfect example of exceedingly more. This story is a wonderful example of exceedingly more. They asked for Moscato and they got a 1955 Merlot from Tuscany. God goes beyond what we ask because it's the beyond our ask and the delivery. That gap is the gap in the field of miracle where people's awe and wonder says, man, there is something to that Jesus thing. There is something to that Christ thing. Man, Jesus people are more than just like a bunch of rules. Jesus people have a secret. They have that sauce. They have that thing. And it's that thing, that vibe, that something different about her, that we cultivate relationship with people that can change our lives for the better. So I hope that tonight, as you wrap this up, and I've told you, I don't even know what time it is. I've probably gone over the time I wanted to spend. Yeah, about 5 minutes. But I wanted to give you time, a challenge, a reflection. And I want you to write down your name and then 3 blanks. And just start praying that God would reveal to you. And these aren't people that you have to go out and say, hey, will you be one of my crazy friends? But it's just for you to take mental note. And I would encourage you to do it and think of it this way. You need one friend who's ahead of you in faith and who is someone that you can ask questions and that you admire. It could be someone that's an elder in your church, 20 years older than you, 5 years older than you, could be the same age but just is ahead of you. But then I want you to find someone that's an equal to you, someone that you're, kind of in the same playing field. You're trying to figure things out together. And then someone that you can disciple. Because when you're discipling to someone else and being a role model, it keeps you accountable. Just like for that mother, that was willing to go out and do it for her kids. When you have someone that's looking up to you in faith, you will go out on a limb because you're so desperate for them to know and understand the love of God in the way that you do. Jesus knew that he had to show up and show out because his disciples would one day be the one that are passed that mantle to. And so he's always an example of him up to them in that way. But I want you to think of those 3 people. Who could those 3 people be in your life? Like I said, this does not have to be a formal conversation with them. It could be your mom, your sister, and your best friend. I don't know. what they look like. It could be another tribe member. It could be someone in here that you meet or that you just see in the chat a lot when you're in the chat, and just you want to DM them and just say, hey, would you like to get a virtual coffee and like do a like speed date, get to know each other just because I need a prayer partner. It doesn't have to be anything too formal, but I can't tell you how invaluable it has been in these hard seasons, even in the last few months, as I have wrestled with anxiety and depression again, as I've had a hard time as you keeping my office organized, just because my mind is such a physical representation of life and unpacking the trauma over the last year. I can't tell you how valuable it has been for me to have people like that. I have people ahead of me, I have people right beside me, and have people come along behind me that I can reach out to at any given time for prayer, for help, and discernment, for people that are willing to stand in the gap, for people that are willing to send me $5, for someone who is willing to send me their dirty feet water, whatever it is, because they believe in me and the mission that I've been called to. So that is my challenge for you this week. So if I don't necessarily need you to write their names, but if you want to do, and you've been doing it on Instagram using the hashtag maxed out, I think is what we said, or is it maxed out? Oh, Juliana, I know you made a test today or yesterday. Maybe I've got it right on here. And you can tell me, make sure we got that in the right order. And just make a post and you're saying my 3 crazy friends and something about that you're working on it, and where you can ask people about it. People may ask you about it, might lead into a good conversation with finding a friend. But that's my challenge for you, is to start figuring out who those are, because a lot of our feeling of lack and enough comes from lack of resource, and a lot of our resource has to do with our network and who we're connected to. Like we don't feel like we have the right people to turn to when we need something. Our lack of enoughness in confidence and opportunity comes from a lot of times lack of mentorship or discipleship. So you can see how these feelings of not enough or lack a lot of time ties to something else, and how relationship can help unravel those toxic mindsets, and that mindset that traps you and shames you into believing that you got yourself into this mess, you got to get yourself out, you know? And that's just not what we want. That's not helpful. So tonight I am going to close in prayer. I love seeing y'all comment. Make friends with each other. Drop your Instagram handle. Go follow somebody else that's on here. Once I get the YouTube video up, I want to start taking or turning off the comments on these videos, or taking them off altogether so that I can keep up with one and not both, if that makes any sense. So make sure you exchange your information in the next couple of minutes, or comment back to somebody if somebody is in the chat and y'all want to kind of break off even, and meet. You know, maybe we can do, Juliana, what time is it tonight? Maybe we could schedule some sort of room meeting, do you know what I'm talking about, for another night, where we'll do a room, which is like when everybody's face can pop up in a square, and everybody can introduce themselves, tell a little bit about themselves, and we can send out some connect information with each other, and make some new friends. This should be a friendly group, a group that you feel safe with, and community. That's the whole point, you know. So I'm going to close in prayer. Thank you so much for all your orders this week. I have been working hard on getting them out. Bridget has been so helpful. I have decided, and we have told those who are part of the subscribe boxes, that we are going to, December is going to be the last box, and we're combining it into one. So if you paid for November, you're good. You're in that. And you won't be charged for December. You only get charged for one. And then we're going to open up a few extras. So if you haven't got any of the other boxes, but I'm going to design a Christmas ornament and just make this last little box of the season really special. And they're going to launch on the 1st, and then they're going to ship on the 10th. And along with some other gift sets that'll come out on the 1st. I just needed to get through our sweatshirt sale first. And I do have some merch that I have just kept. They're one-off sizes. I thought about doing a Black Friday sale here in the tribe where everything's like $10 or something, and you just pay $10 plus shipping, and we would just invoice you for it. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Comment about that, because that could be something I could do that's not even on the website, but just, you know, through a Facebook album post, and do it that way, where it's comment on the picture and we just tell you this is the item and here's the size and price, just to make room for more inventory and all, as our tribe grows and everything gets bigger and God uses it in a different way. I do only have a couple of these books left, and what I'm going to do before I reorder them is, I know there are some spelling mistakes and there are some grammatical errors, all that kind of good stuff. This is my first time, so thank you, one, for showing me grace in that. But I'm going to use, y'all know the money that comes to this helps us run everything, because it's not free, even though it probably feels free to you because it's just that casual. Use the money from the sale of sweatshirts to have someone really edit this thing. And then my goal is in 2021 that people could order these as sets. And then I'm also going to redo all these Bible studies, or use these and create a teacher's manual. So if a group of women wanted to do this at their church, there would be a teacher's book and then these books, and you could order as a set kind of study. So that's kind of the idea moving forward with this, but I want to get through it, of course, this first time and learn, and, you know, as I dissect all of it over and over again, that people are able to get the most out of it. So I'm so grateful for you, for all of your orders, all of your support. Your support in buying sweatshirts is what allows me to have Bridget come in and help, which helps my mental health, because I'm not feeling like I have to do everything by myself. And it's what is going to allow us to grow as we have plans in 2021 to really get some of the infrastructure set up so that we can do more and create more content, like more blog posts and more workbooks and quarterly things. But I can't do that without more help, and help costs money, so especially good help. So, and I want to honor people and their talents in that way. So I really, really appreciate it. If this study was good to you, then would you just share the YouTube link when I post it? That will, you can post it to your Facebook page, you can post it, send it, DM it to a friend, but that's how we get our word out and encourage people. Maybe they need to hear about what God says, or how Jesus shows up when there's not enough, and how Jesus can show up in your life when there's not enough. We just have to ask for help from Him and be willing to ask for help from our crazy friends. So let me close in prayers. Let me shut it down. Let me land the plane and jump off here and go spend time with my family, because my brother's here and my nephew's here and my Zeddy girl, of course, is here. So I'm going to spend some time with them. If you follow me on TikTok, I may pop on there live. We're trying to hit 200,000 by the 1st, because then I said we would do Vlogmas, which is a whole thing. But thank you. Just thank you for your support. I genuinely appreciate it. All the encouragement y'all send me, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to hear the words, especially when you know and can sense that I'm down, or that I'm myself am struggling with not feeling like I'm enough to do this, or that not feeling like I have the right words or enough experience or enough qualification. Y'all are my crazy friends, and I mean that, and I love you, and I hope that, you know, I mean that in such a big way, and not just in a like lovey cutesy way. But be blessed. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. I hope you get to spend it with people that you love, even if that's through Zoom. Listen, I've dated my husband long distance for a very long time over the course of the last almost 13 years. Love can happen through a screen. Valuable conversations can happen through a screen. Just because you can't be together physically doesn't mean fruit can't come from that. And we know that from Bible study. So don't feel silly for setting up your phone or your laptop at the dinner table tomorrow. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's good, isn't good. So do what you can to stay well. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. And hopefully we can get back to feeling free again. But until then, we'll keep being respectful of each other and loving each other like family. And I want my family to stay well. So, good night. I love you. And I'm going to turn this off. And like I said, I'm going to download it and get it right over to the YouTube. So, I'll turn off the comments once I do that and hide it from here. That way people will be over on the YouTube and I can keep it with those comments and stuff like that. And you can share it. So, thank you. I hope you have a blessed evening. And I will talk to you soon. Bye, friends. Oh, wait, did I pray? Letitia, did I pray? My medicine, I think, has wore off at this point. I don't know if I prayed. Maybe the Lord just told me I need to pray for myself. I'm going to pray even if I did. I don't think I prayed to wind it up. Let me just pray. Can we just and pray? Lord, let this just be an example that you can use anybody, Lord. Somebody with chaos in their mind and craziness in their heart. But just, Lord, I have such a desire to just serve you, Lord. And thank God that's all you need. This desire and obedience and faithfulness, Lord. Lord, just help me to stay on your path. Lord, help me to be a light of love and peace and truth right now in such a chaotic time. Lord, please give my friends a hug since I cannot. Let them know that they are so cared for, that they are so loved, and that I am willing to be a crazy friend for them. Lord, send them their crazy friends. Let them see what it's like to be in a deep, holy relationship and discipleship, Lord, and experience your intent for fruitfulness and community. Lord, give us a mentality of abundance and goodness, exceedingly more than we could ask or imagine, because that is who you are. That is what you do. That is a characteristic of which you are known for. Let the gap between what we ask for and the abundance and glory in which you show up in be a testament of your goodness and your faithfulness to those who serve you. Lord, thank you for all that you've given us. Thank you for the opportunity to gather. Thank you for the light and the internet and the phone that brings us together. Lord, we just thank you because you don't have to do any of it. You don't have to make any of it happen. But because you love us, you show up and show out. Please bless us and keep us, Lord. Until we gather again, may your word resonate in our heart, fill our mind, and become a path to our feet. In your name I pray. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Letitia. I appreciate it, the accountability. I'm telling you, y'all got to be my crazy friends. I will be your crazy friend because clearly I'm crazy. I think I just am proof that I got 2 hours of sleep last night and only drank half a cup of coffee. So this might be my sign that I either just need to go and go to bed or drink a cup of coffee. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for your support. I will see you tomorrow. Bye, friends.